I appreciate you all coming. My name is Kelly Zuniga. I'm the project manager for the Willow Bend project. And I want to introduce a few people that are here. First, Will and Laurel. They're from Dig Studios. That's the contractor that's doing the design work for us. They have a lot of very creative ideas, and we're so excited to have them on board. Gosh, I don't even know who all is in the room. But Jackie Marsh is here with us. She's the mayor of Loveland. So thank you so much for coming. And this project has had so much support from the city of Loveland and from our current council and mayor. We started out, this goes way back. So in 2014, the Parks and Recreation Master Plan recognized the need for a neighborhood park in the southeast area of Loveland. It's a little bit underserved by some of our recreation amenities. In 2015, we bought a 79-acre piece of ground that we called Willow Bend Natural Area. And you can see it here. It's actually the site that is right next to where we are right now. So we're in the Boys and Girls Club right now. And if you look directly east of us, there's a great big open farm. It's been farmed with alfalfa for a long time. So what's interesting about that farm is that if you're looking out from here, you see the upper terrace that feels like a great big space. But our 79 acres goes down the hill and it continues almost all the way to the Big Thompson River. So this is really quite a large site. In the lower area, we have a lot of wetlands. I think there's been a few people that have been asking about this, about how the park compares to the overall site. So the 79-acre site, we're right up here at the Boys and Girls Club. And what you can see from out here is really just a portion of this upper terrace. But then there's a slope that goes down to another terrace that's also been farmed with alfalfa. And then there's a lake where we have an existing accessible fishing dock that we built just 2020. So it's been very recent, but we haven't had a way to get to it yet. So it's not really accessible. There's a gravel path that goes all the way around. So that's so far what we're able to reach. But I wanted to get back to some of the bigger picture. This park is so meaningful to us in part because we're looking at doing a universal access playground. So I told you in 2015 we bought the site. In 2016 we were awarded a grant from GOCO, that's Great Outdoors Colorado, to look at ways to inspire children to get outdoors more often and to remove some of the barriers that are preventing kids from being able to be outside more often. And that was a regional partnership. It involved a youth advisory committee and 18 months of activities where they were engaging the public in getting ideas about how we could help to get kids outdoors. And one of the things that came out of this was some of the ideas that you'll see in the Willow Bend Park concept. So that was what got us initially started. And then in 2020, when we all got sent home, that was when we started looking at actual design concepts and starting to say, well, we need to start throwing ideas on paper so that we can bring that to the public and get feedback. And that's where we're at this point. So we've had extensive community engagement just to get to this stage. We've gone through our commissions, the Disability Advisory Board, the Parks and Rec Commission, the Open Lands and Trails Commission, and a lot of internal division work so that we could get to the point where we could be showing you ideas that are feasible and then getting your feedback to make sure that they really work for the population we're trying to serve. We're trying to have a park that's accessible and engaging for people of all ages and abilities. And this is something that we don't really have very much of in northern Colorado. There's maybe 3 or 4 that as far away as Greeley. There's Avens Village, which is a fantastic park in Greeley. There's one, Spring Hill Canyon, is that what it's called? Spring Canyon up in Fort Collins. But there aren't very many for all of northern Colorado. So if you can imagine somebody who has a child with a disability, or if it's an adult with a disability who has able-bodied children and they're trying to go to a park that works for them, they're having to travel really far to get to it. And so this is going to be the first one in Loveland. It's going to be great, a wonderful amenity for people in the region. Back to the site. So we're up here in the Boys and Girls Club. We have this upper terrace I told you about, and our active recreation park will be a 10-acre portion of the 79-acre larger property, and that will be located in this upper northwest corner of the park. Part of the reason that we located it there is so that it would be accessible from the Boys and Girls Club. It also has to do with some environmental protections. So down in the area down here, we have a wetland buffer. There's an important habitat area down here, and so we want to keep the active recreation away from that. And we'll also have a transition, we call this a transition area. That's another 10 acres. That's some passive recreation. It kind of gives a buffer between the active recreation and the areas that we would want to conserve. And we'll talk more about the concepts later, but with that, I'm going to turn it over to Will and Laurel, who are going to go through some of the concept designs with us, and then we'll have a chance to get questions and answers from you. So,
thank you. All right, well, yeah, my name is Will Coleman. I'm an associate project manager, landscape architect with Dig Studio. And before we get into the concepts, really wanted to kind of take you through a little bit of our design process and kind of how we got here, and where we are and where we're going a little bit with it. So, as Kelly mentioned, they brought us on after they'd already done some fairly extensive community outreach to develop some preliminary initial concept plans and really listen to you all as far as what are the big picture elements that we really need in this park and want in this park. Obviously the biggest one being the inclusive play. So we sat down with her and all our city parks and rec stakeholders and to really kick off the project, and had a conversation about getting us really onboarded. So. And really the first thing we wanted to do, and I think the most important thing with a park that really serves you all as the community members is we wanted to get our community engagement process started is kind of as far as our design team goes, and really coming back out to you all. So we did have a targeted online community outreach platform that maybe some of you, there were 12 questions or so, just kind of about who you are and what your needs are. So some of those questions being, what are your special needs? What are some of the special needs of folks in your care? Those thoughts, but also, what do you feel? How do you feel about Willow Bend? What kind of character do you think this park should have? Bigger picture questions like that. So we really wanted to kind of get the ball rolling early. So we had that engagement exercise, and we got some great feedback. I think over 300 to 400 responders. Really, it was pretty awesome to see everybody who was able to exercise their opinion, and so that kind of really helped us kick off our conceptual design phase. And so we spent the next couple months really developing these designs that we'll present to you today. And that kind of brings us to where we are here at our second community engagement exercise. And so, and really to give you a little bit of insight into kind of what comes next is, we'll really be talking to you all. We want to get all your ideas, all your feedback, and really bring that together. And we'll take the two concept plans we have along with all your feedback. And we'll work for the next few months to really merge it all together and kind of come up with a really cohesive preferred concept and kind of, in our schematic design phase. Kind of at the culmination of which will be our next community engagement exercise, where we'd love to have you all back out to see the preferred design and really kind of give us your feedback so that we can then take that, and kind of keep refining. We really want this to be a very community-led process. So that's kind of where we've been, where we're going. And then, once we kind of get that, we'll really start pushing out into some drawings that things can actually be built from. And that will kind of really cap off the end of our design process. But to kind of go back a few steps, just to give you some insight into some of the things we looked at with our first community engagement exercise and kind of how we took some of the feedback and really tried to roll it in. As I said, we got all kinds of awesome answers as far as what has Willow been to you, and what kind of words and what kind of feelings and what kind of things do you want to see at the park? Wanted to show you all this, and this is one of our boards out there too. But one of our questions, like I said, was if Willow Bend has a character, has a story to tell, what should that story be? And you can really see with this word cloud where the larger words are more responders use those same words, and you can see nature, Rocky Mountains, wildlife. Big Thompson River, art. I mean, really a lot of this indigenous, Native American, a lot of these words that really, give this idea of nature, of community, of history, and so that's really, I think, where we started as far as the character of this site and how we should approach kind of an overall theme and a feeling to this park, and that really is rooted in nature, and for the community. And then, as we had our, obviously got all of our great feedback and started to really, get a bigger picture idea for this, we needed to sit down and kind of really look at the site and start looking at how some of these spaces come together. And so this is really kind of an early spatial diagramming concept. We knew from talking to our counterparts with the Parks and Rec that, having loop trails is going to be really important. Having connectivity, Oh yeah, sure. So we are, because we are a little bit more zoomed in than the last image we were showing here. So this would be First Street, Boys and Girls Club here. The Loveland Youth Garden that's to the south. I don't know if most of you are familiar with that, but kind of will be right adjacent to our site. And then, here is kind of where more or less the edge of the pond and kind of where that fishing pier and the accessible dock is. So just to kind of give you a little bit of orientation, and obviously, this is kind of more of our alfalfa area here, and kind of we'll have some streetscape connections that will follow East First all the way to kind of the next intersection there, and really kind of create that full connectivity to the regional trail. So as you can see here, kind of. We'll be looking at this drive. I know that I've already spoken with some of you about the drive and how it's a little odd right now. And so we're looking at consolidated drive that's obviously promotes safety, access from the Boys and Girls Club here. One of the bigger picture things that we thought was really important with this was to kind of group all of our more active our more activity zones into kind of a central hub. Where you can have quick access and connectivity to other zones like the play area, like the turf field. I think visibility is very important, will be very important in this park, and creating a system that allows for a lot of multiple connections and a lot of visibility I think is going to be important. So creating the central hub was I think a way we'd like to accomplish this. As you can see here, we kind of had a regional trail access node, so quick access to the regional trail. And then from a kind of a character perspective, as Kelly mentioned, this would kind of be the more active park space, where this would be more of this transition into the open space where, things like environmental education, soft surface trails, loops, ways to easily engage with nature kind of allow us to have a smooth transition from active area into passive and into, our more open space area to the south. Which, as you can see here, having kind of a more formalized trailhead node and trailhead parking, obviously to provide accessible parking spaces and access to the fishing pier, as well as just being a nice trailhead for the regional trail. So as we kind of started to really plan this out, we took this back to our counterparts at the city, and we all went over it and got some great feedback. And that's kind of where we started as far as really diving into some formalized concepts, which Laura will present for you all now.
So we have two concepts, and both of them, I don't know if we could zoom in on this at all. Both of them have those same parts that Will was talking about. That we have the main entrance off of First, the shared entrance between the Boys and Girls Club and the school over here and the park. They each have the fields located at the furthest northern part against First, which makes some sense, with buffering along that edge, and a trail that would loop around it. But the buffering to give a little, sound buffer, as well as keep balls in from going out into the street, and the trail to allow for loop trails, which Will had mentioned. This is also the flattest part of the site, so it makes sense if you're going to do fields, put it in the flattest part of the site. Matter of fact, one of the things that's interesting I was pointing out to people earlier is the lines here represent contours, like a contour map. And the truth is, there's not a lot of contours up in here because this is all very flat. And the grade starts to drop away at an angle kind of through here. So we took advantage of that in where we laid things out by using the existing site conditions to make sense. So all this is about your 10 acres going down to here. And then everything down below on both plans is the transition nature play area. The difference between the two is, on this plan, the parking is located over here. It has a really nice drop-off because the drop-off is separated from the parking, which is a nice little way of organizing that. You can come in, drop somebody off, and drive back out, or if it was a bus, they could drop in and park the buses up here. There's the central hub that Will mentioned, where everybody could gather when they first come in the walks either way and gather at that spot and then go wherever they're going. Go up to the fields, go down to the universal play area, or just sports courts on one side. We contained the play area with a little bit of grading so that you know where the edge of your play area is, and you can keep people in your viewpoint. And plus, those hills allow for really fun, accessible play opportunities for everyone. Everybody likes to go up and down hills, and you can do it in a wheelchair as well as you can do it on foot. There's lookout spots. There's a spot here that looks out over the nature area below. There's another. The whole thing's organized in this plan in a big loop, curved loop trail, promenade trail, and over here it connects to the regional trail, like he had mentioned, the regional trail coming all the way through. And we've got little areas. There might be sensory play areas for people who don't like to have as much noise and want quiet areas to be, or little areas where you can do some motor skills and things like that. So that's some of the stuff we'll talk about. And we showed examples out there, but we haven't placed anything in exactly yet. This is really organizational that we're talking about at this point. We're not doing specifics because we want you to tell us what you like out there, and then we will be adding that into the design as we move forward. We really like the idea of somewhere getting up high on a bridge so people can go underneath it and be able to slide down. So that's a little bit indication there. And as Will said, a series of trails. Someone asked me, can we ride bikes on these? Yes, most likely we will design that so you can ride little bikes on through here. There's lots of looping opportunities. There would be little areas to have education classes. Let's say you come over from the Boys and Girls Club, you come down through here and you could do a nature education class. This will evolve. Like, for instance, someone's already pointed out to us the best view is right here. We don't have any place there yet. So we'll add a place there to have the best view. So any other input you can give us like that, we'll make sure we're incorporated as we move forward. I'll show you the second one. And they're really similar, but you can see on that one, the parking was oriented this way. This one, the parking is oriented this way. We've already decided this parking with a big island of planting in the middle is not really practical. That was input we got. Because you can't park a big vehicle across two double lanes, right, in a parking lot. So I don't think we'll be going with that idea because there wasn't an advantage to that. But this orientation allowed us to bring people in from the Boys and Girls Club down a central spine with the hub located here. And one thing we liked about this, or we've gotten positive comments, is the grove of trees that over time would provide a nice shady area, which might have lawn underneath. You could have yoga classes, you could have picnics. That has a nice aspect to it. The universal play is located south of the parking. So again, one of our things we wanted to do is make sure that the play experiences were close to the nature play experiences. We weren't separating the two with driveways or cars. So that's a nice aspect of this, that once you're in here, you can circulate and you're not out near the cars. Sports court again, and the parking down below, and basically all the same parts. But things like we talked about, like on this one, this restroom is probably too far away from the universal play. So in this design, we probably move the restroom to a more centralized location so you can use it from both areas. It's very accessible. So that's the kind of thing we'll be, both of these we can combine the good parts of them and put them together into a single design as we move forward. So that's about that, unless anybody wants to ask questions before we go on. Nope. All right. Well, our last slide. Oh, yes, here we go.
I'm just having trouble orienting myself on these maps. Last time I looked at this site on Google, there was like 2 large ponds, lakes. Are those sort of off the
They're
side?
way down here.
Oh, so they're even more
They're
south.
further south.
Okay.
It is a big site, and when the one that
Right.
Kelly was showing us at the beginning, you could see that.
Sorry, I missed the
There,
beginning.
oh, okay.
snuck in.
We can go back. We can go back.
That's okay, just
Yeah,
keep
I
going.
think that first slide you had is a really important one.
This one. Yeah, this is really
Okay.
important. So this is the proposed park area.
All the development is on the northern.
The ponds are here, right? The Boys and Girls Club is here. There's a church right over here. Right, oh, there's the church. Sorry, I missed that one. And then when I was showing you how the slopes work as an angle going across this. This is flat, and this starts to drop away.
Thank you, that's helpful.
Okay. Other questions? No?
I'm going to come over here and talk close to you so I don't have to move the microphone. So we handed you, when you came in, the 2 sheets of paper that have Concept A and Concept B on them, and they have some lines at the bottom. I hope that you'll write your feedback on those and then give those to us, because this is your chance to, now that you've been oriented to the site, you have a better sense of what really is happening in each of the concepts. And you'll have a chance after this also to go back out and look at the posters where they're a little bit larger, and you can really take a detailed look after having heard her spiel and his spiel. We really appreciate any feedback that you can give us about any element or how you want to play on this park or how you want to be using it. Anything that you can do to help us to understand how best to orient things or how to organize things will be very welcome. So that's why we gave you those handouts, and we're hoping that you'll give some of those back.
Absolutely. And when I was, like, for instance, I was talking to one of the little girls out there earlier, and she said, I love climbing because it's really good exercise. I said, yes. And then she also told me slides are the best. And I said, yeah, and slides combine climbing and sliding, so that's really good. So anything specifically like that that you can give us input on is great. You had a comment?
I was wondering, are there aspects of the design that you're setting up for that will be better used during the winter time? So a lot of parks can't be used during the winter, at least when it's snowing. Are there aspects of the park that'll be more fun in the winter?
Well, you know, are there aspects of the design that could be utilized in the winter? Well, one thing, I mean, we haven't talked a lot about that. That's a very good question and a very good reminder. But for instance, if we could go to the plans for a second, on these slopes, they're facing slightly north. They're going to hold snow, and kids are going to come out here in the winter and slide down into that play pit on that slope, because we're talking about that being artificial turf. And so it would work really well for sliding. And I've seen that happen in other parks that we've designed when we use artificial turf or even poured in place safety surfacing on a slope. It becomes a place you can slide in the winter. There also, you could sit underneath these structures in the winter maybe and have, or you could, there's walking trails you can use in the winter, of course. But it's a good thing to think about.
Walking trails are of a surface that won't get muddy?
Right, right.
Okay.
And also the rec trail that is this coming down through here will be plowed in the winter, and so that'll be accessible all year.
I also had one comment was, please don't aerate the fishing ponds so that they can do ice fishing in the winter. I thought that was a good comment. Those kind of specifics are awesome.
Is the fishing pond going to be stocked? Is it already stocked?
It is.
It is stocked. I didn't know that, so that's good to know.
But you can't get there yet.
Don't go.
Just let them grow bigger.
All right, so our last slide is to show you, you all came through and you went through and looked through things. We did our presentation. So now we want you, and I don't know if you saw what the kids were doing out there. They were doing a whole project for us, designing their ideal playground. So that's been fun for several children to do. We actually did it in our office too, and everybody in the office had a very good time doing it. But the next steps are, as you're leaving or as you're finishing up, looking up any notes you can give us. We are going to go through these. We're going to really assess them and try to take them and accommodate them the best we can. And as Kelly said, fill out what you like about each plan so that we can make that final version of the concept plan to move forward with. Anything else? Yes?
Question, is Simpson Pond State Wildlife Area ultimately gonna be joined to this? Is that gonna be part of the rec trail, gonna go through that?
The rec trail itself is gonna come up here through Willow Bend Park and out to First Street right now.
And what
is the
about
way it's planned.
south? Does it go south to Simpson
It goes
Pond?
west over towards Boise Avenue on the north side of the river.
Okay.
So the question was whether the rec
Yeah,
trail
it will be.
connects.
Simpson Pond will not be connected in the short term, so
Okay.
that's a state coordination issue, and
Right.
so far the state hasn't agreed to that idea of connecting them through.
Okay,
So the recreation trail will continue east to west, but it will go up to First Street as opposed to going directly through Simpson Pond. So that's something that we've talked about, and it's an idea that I think would work potentially really well, but there is hunting allowed over at Simpson Ponds. I think the state has some concerns about back and forth travel between the two, so.
Yeah, so it was a coordination thing on a larger regional level that we were looking at, that access into the state wildlife area. That one of the challenges we have is that there's hunting that's allowed in that area, and that for safety reasons, we don't want to have people walking over there and otherwise having to coordinate when it's open, when it's closed, and making sure that people are safe. And so there are some bigger issues that are at stake as far as connecting into there. But it is something that we have our eye on, and that we're hoping that we will eventually be able to connect into.
Yes.
We're hoping to generate some community interest. For example, our Kiwanis Club is here tonight. So we would like to ask that when final things are done, if the club donates something, that there is an opportunity for signage to give credit to the Kiwanis Club.
So if I'll repeat the question, will there be opportunity if there's donations to create signage? And that is not a question I can answer. Will there be?
Yes. There will be opportunities, and I think even one of our precedent image boards out there has a really creative, shows kind of an archway for another inclusive playground down in the Denver area, where they really creatively almost created this very artful archway where they recognize donors. And so I think we will have opportunities to incorporate pieces that recognize donors and contributors to the project.
Another question?
Before we do the next question, I just wanted to share some wonderful news too, that just on Friday, the city of Loveland was awarded $988,000 from Great Outdoors Colorado for the construction of this park. There have been
Clapping?
Yay! So we have a couple other grants that are very tentative at this point, but we've had positive feedback from the awarders, I guess what you call them.
$1 million.
So
Yeah.
I know that was the Walmart version of $1 million. But so we have had some good support for this project already, and any additional support is going to help us make it the best park possible. And so we want to acknowledge people who have donated to this, and so we'll find a way to make it something special that becomes a part of the park and a part of the artwork. Go ahead.
My question follows right up on what you were saying, and I was looking into, or wondering if you're looking into asking the community to help with funding, meaning fundraisers. I've lived in another area where we built not a park to this extreme, but where you allowed people to donate trees, donate bricks to a walkway or to a bridgeway or benches, and it allows small people like me to put money in where the Kiwanis has a whole lot more money than I do.
We appreciate any kind of donations that come to the park, and I love the idea of there being kind of sponsorships, that it's not just here, have some money and go at it, but we really love the idea of having that you can sponsor a specific piece of the park in some way. And so we'll try and set it up in a way that allows you to feel like this is the piece that I'm really contributing to, and it gives you something that when you come in you say, that's my tree.
Right.
It may not have your name on it because we're not going to carve into the bark, but we'll know it's your tree, and we'll tell everyone it's your tree. Yeah.
One fun detail we did in a park that we did once was people bought fish, and they were engraved with their names or their sayings that they wanted to say, and they were in the pavement swimming in a blue concrete river. It was really cute. Yes, another question.
This city is full of sculptures. Do you have a place for sculptures?
Do we have a place for sculptures?
I should
better
just
just
stay
stay
up
up
here.
here.
I stay up here because, so one of the beautiful things about the city of Loveland that is really unique, and one of the things that I love about this city is that every time there's a new development, there's a percentage of the cost of that development goes towards public art. And so we will be working with I don't know if it's a Public Art Commission, I guess it's called that, and talking to them about the possibility of having that piece of art be something that contributes to the park. And so, yeah, there's a great opportunity for that.
Functional art.
Yep. Visual Art Commission, thank
Yes.
you.
Can we talk about, or can you describe what the nighttime lighting will be?
Can we describe the nighttime lighting?
I can maybe speak a little bit to that as long as I'm not overstepping, but
Yeah, I don't wanna overstep.
I believe that, you know, as far as night lighting, it would be more security-focused lighting, so lighting, you know, underneath shade structures where, you know, people may congregate or have a tendency to congregate at night, and in the parking lot, I believe. But I don't believe, I think with, you know, some of the environmental sensitivities to the south of the site, that, that we would be lighting the park itself. It would really just be for security purposes only.
And one thing we've talked about is, for instance, the road that goes down to the fishing pond, that might be closed off at night, so that you're not encouraging, you know, activities that you don't want down in the parking lot down there, so. Okay, wait, this person in front of you gets to turn.
But some fish you can catch better at.
Nice.
That is a very good point.
We're gonna have a fisherman sneaking in down.
We will have a headlamp.
You're hardcore.
Thanks for talking about accessibility with little a. I was hoping we could talk a little about accessibility with a capital A, meeting design features related specifically for individuals with disabilities and access.
Mhm.
Right, so if you looked at our boards out there, that is something we're going to have, and we'd love you to give your 2 cents on which ones you think are, if you've ever seen them, are these great? But we will have, all the paths will be accessible, of course, but there also will be individual play elements that'll be geared towards sensory things, towards learning, towards building skills. So there will be things like that for people with special needs of all ages. So, and we've talked about how the restrooms would accommodate that too. So as many specifics you can feed us, that helps us make sure we're covering all those bases.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, I think that's one of the most exciting things for us about this, you know, this open house we're having, is that we get to listen, you know, to you all and really what your needs are. And I think, you know, we want to make this the most inclusive, you know, on all levels as we can. I mean, even as Laurel mentioned with restrooms, you know, even looking at things like adult changing tables. And, you know, we're talking about really, you know, we want to dive in and really get that feedback from you all tonight.
We also have on our team an accessibility play expert.
Mm-hmm.
And we won't bring him in a lot, but he is going to review our drawings and come up with ideas that we might not have thought of, or point things out
Yeah.
that we might not have thought of.
And at the city, we also have a reasonably new adaptive recreation specialist who's sitting in the back of the room here, Liesel. So we have resources in-house and also on the design team that are going to help us with that. But we want to get the public input, because it's your experience that really helps to guide this more than anything else. Go ahead.
So, friends of mine and I were talking at a park after the girls got out of school, and something they mentioned that I thought I'd mention, or a question they had that I thought I'd bring up. Is this park going to be connected to the bike trail that just got put in between St. Louis and Boise?
Yes, so the question was, will the bike trail that's here be connected into the bike trail that's at St. Louis and Boise at the old St. Louis natural area? And the answer is yes. So we are at the 30% design stage for a trail that we already have the access easements through a private property that goes from Boise Avenue to the edge of Willow Bend. And, oh, we don't have the plan up here anymore, but you can see on the west side where it connects. Yeah, right here.
Okay.
So it'll connect into that point. So it all connects into, 23 miles of recreation trails throughout the city. There's still a few little gaps on this area down in the southeast, but we're working on connecting those. Yeah,
The part that just got finished is great. The girls love it. They love
fantastic.
the-
So you'll be able to get all the way from here.
Mountain biking area on the other side of the river as well.
Fantastic.
They love that.
Well, and one of the beautiful things about this, it connects from the city center, the civic center, down into this southeast area. And at the Boys and Girls Club, and also with the youth gardens, the Loveland Youth Gardens, we have a lot of people who arrive by bicycle. And so this is an important way of making it accessible to people who would be arriving for work or for the youth gardens. And so it's really helping that population to be able to get around.
Kelly, can I add one more piece on
Yeah,
that?
please do.
And one more kind of exciting piece of that puzzle, which we haven't really discussed as part of this, but you can see on this map here where the trail kind of goes off the screen to the east. The plan there is that trail actually goes all the way out to I-25. So if you've driven I-25, now that CDOT's put those new bridges in over the Big Thompson River, underneath those bridges is a trail underpass that we've worked with CDOT to construct. So that's the long-term vision. That's probably about 3 to 5 years out as we start heading out that direction. But you will eventually be able to go from downtown Loveland through Willow Bend all the way out to I-25, underneath and over to the Johnstown side. So this really becomes a central feature of that entire trail project.
Will that also connect to the sports park?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's a short term. So once this connects in over here, there's already sidewalks that get you most of the way up to the sports park. And then the sidewalks that get you up past Eisenhower, and it'll connect into the Centera Trail that's on the south side of Boyd Lake. So we have, there's a lot of connections, yeah. So there's a little bit of work to be done to get that all connected up, but we're really looking at making sure that this amenity, it becomes a hub for kind of a secondary loop on the southeast side of town.
Lots of opportunity for exercise.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a couple more. Okay, next, and then we'll go to the back.
Could we go back to fishing for a second?
We're going back to fishing.
We have a fisherman on
Will there be, will it be stopped?
It is.
And if so, is it already stopped?
It is.
Is it catch and release only?
It is.
You're not allowed to fish yet.
Yeah, so it was started by, so there was a Fishing is Fun grant from CPW, and that happened a few years ago. So it has been stocked, and so the fish are
Growing.
they're growing. They're going to be really nice fish, very pleasant fish. And there was a question in the back.
I just, I see the sports court on
Uh-huh.
designs.
You're like,
Have a
what is
plan
that?
for that?
You know, we have some ideas. We had something in mind, but we're also looking for, repeating the question. So on both of these designs, there's been a mention of a sport court, but it's been just kind of an open, nondescript kind of sport court. We had something in mind, but we're not married to a single idea. We're still looking at options, and so we didn't want it to be so specific yet. But one of the things that we're looking at is called bank shot, where there's all these different kinds of basketball hoops at different angles and different things and so that would be a part of it, potentially.
Because it's got different heights, so little kids can do it, people in wheelchairs can do it, but there's all sorts of different heights, and it's a game you can play with multiple people, so it's a lot of
And
fun.
it's more of a skills kind of thing. And then we were also looking at potential having kind of a wider flat concrete area that could be used for different kinds of pickup games and more of a flexible sport court that we could be putting up equipment in.
And there are pictures out there of some of those ideas on the boards.
My favorite one is called 9 Square in the Air. I love that game. It's so fun. And it's sort of like 4 Square, but it's vertical, and you're playing volleyball over this vertical 9 Square court, but it rotates people in really quickly, and it's just so fun. And you can be playing it with people of all ages, and it is a fun thing. Did you have another comment?
No, I've been agreeing with you.
Yeah.
I've been the junior hires for years, and they will love it. That and Gaga Ball.
That was the other one, that we actually were looking at potentially a permanent Gaga Ball pit. So, yeah. I think that's actually pretty good. Thank you so much for asking all your questions. We want to continue having an opportunity to interact with you out here in the poster area. So we're going to let our poster hosters get back out there, and then you have, now that you've heard all of this and it's getting all the juices flowing and ideas are flowing in your heads, please write down comments on cards, put them in our tip jars, and continue looking around at this stuff now that you have a different way of looking at it. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate. Oh wait. If you think Yeah, if you go to,
See the presentation boards and submit your comments.
yeah, if you have anything you want to add, go to the Willow Bend Natural Area website, and you'll have an opportunity to submit those online. Thank you.